New podcast cringe. Bert Kreischer is crashing out. Let's react to that bullshit. Big up podcast cringe bites. Let's see what he's saying about Bert and Tom Segura.
I'm broken. I'm the reason. That's the reason the internet hates me at times, is because I've said everything. I'm just broken. I'm sorry.
Get together and talk about, you know what I mean? Like,
I just farted.
What?
I'm cramping.
So on one side you have Brendan and Brian, who are going through the motions, right? Not really trying anything new, not really innovating, not really trying to push themselves, not really trying to whatever, right? Just going through the motions. On the other end of the spectrum, you got Bert Kreischer, constantly trying to push the line, constantly trying to ham it up, act in front of the camera, do all this squealing, all this nonsense about I can't breathe, saying he's fucking got a cramp while he's also moving his leg. Like all this nonsense stuff to get a laugh, to get a joke, to go viral. Choose your fighter. Boring, mundane, make you bleed out of your fucking eyeballs, T-Fat-K content, or T-Fat-K slop, or Bert Kreischer squealing, heezing, quasi-therapy session podcast. Choose your fighter.
I noticed, like, well, I'm famous, but I noticed people looking at me, like when we were walking. I noticed, like, these young girls saw me and then they giggled and then they were like, "Oh my god!" And then they ran over and they're like, "Are you?" And I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Can we get?" Oh my god! I got jocked by these young girls in Hawaii.
Bert Kreischer's.
Are you? Yeah. Are you? Yeah. Look at that face, bro. Look at that face. There's difference in color of his face to his hand. The difference in color from his face to his hand. Holy shit. There's no way this guy smells good in real life. I don't believe it. There's no way that Bert smells good in public. No way. No way. In person anyway.
Is back with more made-up stories from the road. The last time we saw him, he was bragging about how he's never paid a bill in his life and his fear of opening mail. Luckily for him, he's got his wife Leanne to take care of all those tasks, which are clearly beneath a man of his stature and culture. But this week, it only took Bert a couple of drinks to open up about how much his wife's looks are fading in her old age, while at the same time, he's just getting better and better. This guy takes delusions of grandeur to a whole new level. And if you're wondering where Tom and Bert were for this episode of Two Bears, One Cave, they were special guests at Barstool's Chicago studio after their bar takeover promoting their vodka brand, because that's what stand-up comedy's become these days. It's simply a vehicle for the top 250 elite to squeeze out every dollar from their fans.
100%. And
we should be grateful. We need them more than they need us, remember? But we all know that Tom Segura's the
So that's why they had that random Barstool guy there, right? What's his name? What's his name again? What's that guy's name again? Casey. I don't know. He's one of the founding members. Casey Hustle Shrimp. I don't know. Something.
The mastermind behind all of this. He's the king of comedy when it comes to diversification. Ever since his Netflix series Bad Thoughts dropped, he's been dressing like a professional skateboarder turned film director.
That's such a good point. He does got. He's like, I've directed a show, innit? He does get. That's such a good point. Oh my god, Tom is dressing like a director. Hoodie underneath the denim jacket. He's probably got a moleskin. He's probably got a moleskin in one of those pockets. Field notes. Grown ass men with no personalities, man. This is honestly, man. This is so ridiculous. But Tom dressing like a fucking TV executive is fucking hilarious, man.
Director with pending allegations. Bert, on the other hand, is about ready to pop. If his face gets any redder, he'll have to declare it at the border. He is seriously crashing out hard right now. He's finally starting to admit that his stand-up comedy career is basically over. Both him and Tom have checked out from stand-up. I covered Tom's recent decision to step away from the stage to pursue a career in Hollywood. As for Bert, though, things might not be that simple. After the disaster of a flop that his Machine movie was at the box office, it's going to be difficult for him to make it back onto the big screen. Well, unless Tom helps him out. And we all know how Tom feels about working with Bert.
Lols.
Was there ever a conversation about we should put Bert in one?
Wow.
By the way, big shout out to all of
Is that? Does he mean that in terms of the episode? That's fucking brutal. That's gonna hurt my feelings. I'm not gonna lie. If I was Bert, that would hurt my feelings.
you from my main channel, Podcast Cringe, who came over here and subscribed to this channel. I hope you're enjoying the shorter videos, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on my uploads throughout the week. Things might be a little bit different for our boy Bert, though, because unlike Tom's semi-retirement from stand-up comedy, Bert's retirement might be involuntary. I called this at the beginning of the year over on my Patreon when Bert told Theo Von that he was taking some time away from touring so he could refresh and renew his material after his Netflix comedy special Lucky came out. At the time, I said that this was a sign Bert was running out of material, and it wouldn't be long before he crashed out and became a bomb expert, just like Joe Rogan. And now, just a few months later, Bert's finally come to the realization that after 25 years of taking his shirt off and telling made-up stories on stage, his time might finally be up.
Made up
I
story.
had a really great run of not drinking.
How long?
8 days. Get on a plane for Hawaii.
By the way, it's just a nonsense Bert thing he does. He says 8 days, but then he would mean like 8 days from beer. I had a wine on the train. I had a fucking JD and Coke. I was on the plane. Like it's this weird fucking justifications and ration. I don't know. It's just a strange thing that he does. Like whatever.
I have 2 drinks before takeoff. Fly, sober, land, no booze, at the hotel, no cocktails, sleep, wake up, feel amazing, workout. The reason I will be alive is because of comedy. Do 2 shows in Hawaii, 2 nights in Hawaii.
Oh, I didn't know you were doing shows.
Yeah. My stand-up sucks. And
The reason you be alive is because of comedy. No, the reason you be alive, you'll be dead is because of comedy. No, isn't it the opposite? Isn't the reason why he'll die? God forbid, not anytime soon. But the reason he would actually die would be because of stand-up. I feel like stand-up actually enables it. Maybe if he was at home more often, he would actually he would actually have better habits. You know, he wouldn't indulge himself so much. But being on the road and being away from his family, or just being on the road in general, he definitely does seem to really enjoy that side of things. Like he lives for it. If anything, he lives for being on the road and being crazy and wacky and pushing the limit. So comedy is actually the worst thing for him. Actually, if you think about it.
it's so bad, I can't even tell you.
No, stop.
I mean, I have nothing. I have no tentpole story I'm working on.
Yeah.
I got a couple stories that are okay, but like,
When did your special come out? March?
yeah, and I made a mistake. I took 11 months off, and I should have never done that.
No, I think you did the right thing.
I think I'm so far removed from stand-up that like, it really is the first time in my life where it's taking a minute to get the rust off.
That's fine, though. That's good.
Everyone in Hawaii, thank you for coming out. I really appreciate it. I'm so sorry.
At least Bert has the balls to be honest with himself. Fuck, I never thought I'd say that sentence out loud. But compare him to guys like Andrew Schultz and Joe Rogan, who ran out of steam years ago when it came to their stand-up acts, yet carry on like they're the second coming of Norm Macdonald and Patrice O'Neill. It reminds me of Dane Cook. He became so good at self-promotion and used social media in the early days to get his name out there, but eventually people started asking themselves why they're still laughing. Even Rogan still brags about how he stopped touring years ago when his comedy mothership was built, and we've all seen the results in Burn the Boats. As for Bert, though, it's good to see that audiences are finally coming to their senses and giving him the reaction that he deserves. Man, I would have loved to been in Hawaii for this. And just to clarify, because they had to censor it, he opened with a joke in Hawaii about their women being SA'd by James Cook's fleet in the late 18th century.
Jesus Christ.
And the people in Hawaii were awesome. I opened with a James Cook, the women of Hawaii joke.
How'd that land?
Not well.
The thing about that joke is like, it's not even his style. Like, that joke would probably work for a comedian, but it's not even his style. So when he said it, it probably came across really mean and rude and disrespectful, you know? It didn't even match his like his demeanor. It didn't really make any sense. Like, what? Like, why are you saying this? There's probably maybe one of the parts of telling jokes or being funny. It's not really about your delivery. It's just about everything about you. It's about who you are, what you embody, the kind of vibe you give off. You know, maybe the stories you shared in the past. Everyone's like, hold on, like how do you even know who James Cook is? You know what I mean? That type of thing. Like, you just read this on Google or you read this on Wikipedia before you arrived and thought it'd be a funny joke. Like, what? Jesus Christ, Bert.
What's the angle on it?
Soon as
Like, I wish I was James Cook?
No, I said, you know, one of my favorite stories about James Cook, and everyone's like, we're not huge fans of that guy. And I was like, this isn't going to go over well. They pull up to Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
And James Cook's
You
like,
don't have to whisper anymore.
okay. James Cook's like, this is ASMR.
Okay.
James Cook's like, to the guys on his boat, he's like, all right, listen, we all have syphilis, and we all have rickets, okay? So I'm not letting you guys on this island. And they're like, but we need fruit. And he's like, okay, I have one rule. Don't f women. And they go, what about the fruit? Okay, 2 rules. Bring back fruit. Don't f women. Sends them in a boat. They come back in the boat. And he's like, how'd it go? And they're like, well, you're not going to be happy. I'm like, what? And they're like, we f a couple women. So now they have syphilis, so we might as well just go f them. That's what I opened with in Hawaii.
Comedians
Jesus Christ.
can read a room.
And they were like, yeah, we know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just think it's so funny that I just thought when I heard that story, I thought it made me giggle. They didn't like it.
I think comedians are at the top of the food chain because you don't have a band. You just have the read of the room and the material has to be really funny.
End of the week, you know, it's like you get the rust off yourself. I opened my first show Thursday with that. And then by the end of the week, I was like, James Cook. And they're like, yeah.
That he could just, by talking, this theater filled with people were just falling down laughing. They're just blown away.
And I was like, do you want to know the craziest thing about James Cook? He couldn't swim.
Seriously?
He couldn't swim.
Navigating the world.
And apparently that was a tactic to keep your sailors, like you didn't want sailors who could swim.
Oh.
You wanted sailors who couldn't swim because then they really gave a fuck about no one abandoned the boat.
What a crazy power to have. Like, what an unbelievable thing to be able to do with just your words.
And so, he tried to take someone hostage and then they chased him in the water, bludgeoned him to death, and he couldn't get to the boat. He couldn't swim to the boat.
That's how he died?
Yeah.
Geez, Bert, that all sounds like A-grade stand-up material right there. Glad it worked.
Could you imagine Bert like fumbling his way through telling that joke? Trying to get the historical details correct to not offend anyone, but then also trying to make it funny by offending people. Like, what? You just don't have the minerals. You don't have the fucking faculties. You know what I mean? You don't have it to tell that type of joke. Bert needs to stay in his lane. Just keep his jokes about his kids getting fucking periods and shit, or maybe STIs. I don't know. Talk about his wife. Talk about fucking his wife. Talk about drinking. Just stick to your fucking hits. Stick to your hits. Don't try and venture out and do like observational, historical comedy. Like, it's not for you, bro. It's not for you.
Worked out for you. Sounds like our boy's been watching Shane Gillis's stand-up specials and tried to work in some history into his sets. Maybe leave the historical stuff to Shane, Bert. Stick to sharing private stories about your wife and daughters.
Exactly.
Your fans seem to eat that up for some reason.
So we built this in November 2023 is when we moved in, and I take my kids here all the time to
Your
like.
kids?
Yeah, 3 of them.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
You guys are good at keeping secrets.
I mean, I don't put them online.
Oh, you don't do it in specials and talk about their periods?
Yeah, no, I
okay.
don't.
You mean when they go to college and some guy walks up to her at a party and goes, I'm going to the famous right out of you? Yeah, you kid, I know who you are and I'll find you.
Say his name.
Yeah, no chance that story actually happened. Isn't it strange that since he's...
Surely you wouldn't want to, even if it did happen, right? Even if that story did happen, surely you wouldn't want to repeat it. Just so you didn't want to bring more attention to the story because you're a daughter. You wouldn't want to repeat it again, but like, that seating arrangement is fucking horrible. But having to turn back and look at the guy, like, it's fucking hilarious. Why don't you just like make it so you all sit a bit more, in a wider U type shape? Why does Bert keep looking backwards like that? That's such a weird way to do the setup of the show.
His daughters have moved away to college, his stand-up comedy material has dried up. Must just be a coincidence, I guess. And speaking of dried up, Bert's completely delusional when it comes to his effect on women. For someone who's claimed to have never cheated on his wife, he sure does love to bring it up every single opportunity he's ever had to do it. For some reason, Bert's wealth and fame have led him to believe that he's in the same league as George Clooney and Brad Pitt. You know, those celebrity silver foxes who women love.
If he brings it up a lot, he probably brings up a lot because he does cheat on his wife a lot. Somebody bringing up all the times they could have cheated on his wife, you probably are cheating on your wife. You know? Like, you probably are. Then why would she bring it up?
Even though they're getting older. According to Bert, women fade with age, but he just keeps on getting better. The silence from Tom was deafening.
Dude, can I tell you what sucks for women is that they fade. It's like watching Superman get locked out of his house.
Women specifically fade?
Yeah.
What about guys?
Nope. We get better. I told this to Leanne. We're taking a walk. You know, I'm famous, but I noticed people looking at me, like when we were walking. These young girls saw me, and then they giggled, and then they were like, oh my God. And then they ran over, and they're like, are you? And I was like, yeah. I'm like, can we get, oh my God. Not a lot of young boys were doing that to Leanne. And I said to Leanne, I said, it's kind of crazy. Like, it is inevitable. With women, it fades.
Hold on, but aren't you like, what a weird example. I get what he's trying to say, but what a stupid, idiotic, nonsensical analogy. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? Aren't you famous though? Isn't your wife just a normal person who's not as famous as you? Are you Rogan's friend? Now, do I believe a gaggle of young girls knew who you were anyway? Probably not, but let's just go with it anyway, right? A group of like teenage girls knew who Bert Kreischer was. But you're the famous one. Of course they should know who you are. What does that have to do with like not looking your best in your old age or your looks fading? Bert thinks those girls came up to him not because he's famous, but because he's good looking, or in part because he's good looking. That delusion is that's the type of delusion that you think you should have. Bert is interesting because people like him won't have a psychotic break. People as delusional or as fucking just, you know, whatever, mental as even like a Brendan, those type of people don't have psychotic breaks. People like Brendan Schaub and Bert Kreischer, you know, the guys who lie all the time, the guys who just, you know, talk the most shit, they don't have psychotic breaks. Regular schmegular people like me and you, we don't want to have psychotic breaks. But these people don't. They seem to go through life like easy peasy. They sleep like babies, they have no issues whatsoever. It's truly astonishing how they perceive themselves. The Lulu is massively strong.
And with men, we kind of our stock increases, especially if you make money and you're, you know, a little gray, look sexy, and you know, I got jocked by these young girls in Hawaii. This is right when Leanne left. Leanne left, and I was only leaving 2 hours after her. I went down to the beach. I had a cocktail, and these girls came out and were talking to me, and they're like, "Are you here by yourself?" And I was like, "Oh, my wife just left. Like, you should come with us." And I was like, "Oh no, I'm leaving in an hour." And they're like, "Oh, okay." And then I was like, it's just so odd. Now,
what? Bert thinks he's an actual snack. That's the confidence that all of us need, to be fair. Bert looks at himself in the mirror and thinks he's an actual snack, you know. That is kind of wild. He actually thinks he's an actual snack. Fair play, man. Fair fucking play.
I'm buzzed. It's so odd that, like, for women, it's inevitable. It happens to all of them.
Right. Well, they're the ones pursued, right? So like, guys pursue women. Like, your DNA is seeking out the youngest, most viable, you know, reproduction person too. And so like, you actually have a signal in your head that sees somebody that's older and goes, this is not a reproductive person. You know what I mean?
That's so funny, Tom, because that's exactly how I feel when I look at you and Bert. When it comes to Bert's stories, most of us have built a pretty strong bullshit detector over the years. This is what probably happened. Leanne left early, Bert had a couple of hours to kill, so he went down to the bar, made a big scene, explained to everyone that he's a famous comedian, pulled out his phone and Googled his name to show everyone, and then when a group of girls figured out he had money, they asked him to buy them drinks. Bert sitting in that chair, looking like a diabetes mascot, explaining to Tom that women fade but successful men like him keep getting sexier, is actually crazy. As usual, though, it got worse.
I almost envy ugly chicks because they never had it.
Right. Yeah.
Like, what's better, to have it and lose it, or to never?
I don't know. Can you even talk about anybody being? Can you even smirk or snigger at anybody being unattractive or whatever? When you look like Bert Kreischer, can you even have the guts? Do you even have the how do you even have the gall, the gumption, the courage, the neck to say this when you're fucking Bert?
Have it and never know what it was.
Did you ever like do like a, you know, like a charity fuck when you were younger?
No, I only who would fuck me. I've only had sex with 6 chicks.
Right, but was one of them? Did you ever
No,
go like,
no,
hey, you're
never.
not that attractive? You didn't say it, but
No,
you
I
go,
fell in love with all of them. I was like, I said I love you to all of them. Even the one night stand, I said I love you, and she was like, what? I was like, I'm broken. I'm the reason. That's the reason the internet hates me at times, is because I've said everything. I'm just broken. I'm sorry.
No, you're just really fucking annoying. It's not the fact that you're broken. People like broken people. Like people that are vulnerable, that have issues. Like, you're just really fucking annoying.
People I love. Oh. I never even made out with an ugly chick, I don't think.
really?
I don't think so.
Bert, you're the ugly chick. At least he's starting to realize why he's got so many haters. The shit that comes out of his mouth is wild. But that's not why people hate you, Bert. Theo Von and Tim Dillon say crazy shit all the time, and they've got big loyal fan bases who tune into their podcast and show them nothing but love. People hate you because the wild things you say are delusional, arrogant, and annoying. However, we really should give him credit for finally realizing his stand-up comedy sucks. Now that Brendan Schaub and Tom Segura have retired, and Bert's on his way too, the Rogan 6 never-been-funny comedians are slowly moving from the endangered list to the extinct one. But what would I know? I'm just some mentally ill guy on the internet. Anyway, make sure you...
Cool. Big up them. Yeah, I don't know. Brutal episode to watch. To be fair, there's a lot of correlation if you think about it. With the way Tom sits on that pod, how quiet he is, the lack of input, Bert's kind of same old fucking routine. There's a lot of kind of similarity between T-Fat K and 2Base1 Cave, isn't it? In terms of going through the motions. 2Base1 Cave is just a lot more glitzy, backed by your mum's house, you know, 2 prominent comedians and shit, both on Netflix. But there's a lot of overlap, a lot of similarities in terms of the boringness of their shows and just how nonsense and dab, you know what I mean? It feels like it. It feels like both of them. Both shows are pretty shit. But yeah, I don't know. It's all fucking nonsense. It's all a nonsense, people. It's all a goddamn nonsense.